Well, cheers, everyone. Terry Knickerbocker here. How are you? It's Thursday, and I want to talk to you about the business, show business, training, auditions, and what's important, or at least what's important in my idea of things. We recently had a student decline to come to the studio because she found another studio where she could work with current scripts and auditions as part of her training. And I make a distinction between training for how to audition versus training for how to act. They're two different skills. And of course, and here's the headline, I want you all to work. If you're an actor, I want you to have the richest possible career and have as many opportunities to do this professionally and get paid all the money. I want all that. Which means that you should get really, really good at auditioning when it comes time to audition. However, I think that's different from training, even though you could say you train to audition. So this particular person, and she's had a bit of a career, but also shared that she'd kind of hit a plateau in her work. And this was for our summer intensive. It's the first 18 classes of ultimately 128 class, 2-year Meisner progression, which to me, that's the conservatory work. That's the work in the dojo. And I think that's what creates a foundation in you so that then you have an instrument and a craft to bring to the work. And we also teach the business. We teach on camera. We've got some amazing teachers who do that. Jason McDonald leads that wing for us, and it's really important. But to me, they don't mix, and they shouldn't mix. So, of course, this young woman made her decision, and we wish her well. But if you've hit a plateau in your work, doing a class that's about auditioning is not going to help you become a better actor. It's going to help you become a better auditioner. And those circles intersect a little bit, but I like to separate them. So in class, we might work on material that you'd never be cast in. And I think that's good because it stretches you. It lets you get more different kinds of muscles in the work. Maybe it's a part you'll play 10 years from now. When I first went to train in the Meisner work, I had graduated from NYU. And my work was hit or miss. I was working, but the quality of my work was up and down. And that really disturbed me. And so I heard about the Meisner work, and I heard about the man who became my mentor, William Esper, the late William Esper, the late, great William Esper. And we had a wonderful conversation. He said, well, it's a 2-year program. I'd just done 4 years at NYU, and I said, okay, I'm in. Why? Because I want it to be really good. And I think that is the North Star. I want to be the best actor I can be. And we had a great conversation. He accepted me into his class. And on my way out, I said, oh, Bill, I just want to let you know there's one class I have to miss. And it's like, you know, one of those movies where all of a sudden a cloud comes over and you know that that's an omen. He got very serious. And he said, why would you miss my class? It'd been so friendly up to then. But the message was, you don't miss my class. I said, oh, I'm in a play and in the fall, and we have tech that day, and I know that I won't be able to come to class then. He said, oh, is it on Broadway? And I said, no. He said, oh, maybe it's off Broadway, maybe at Manhattan Theater Club or the Public Theater. I said, no. He said, well, what is this goddamn play that's going to take you away from my class? I said, well, it's a play being directed by then a somewhat unknown, now very famous director named Anne Bogart, who's also head of the Columbia directing program. amazing artist, and I'd done like 8 or 9 projects with her. I was kind of part of a company, a loose company of people that she worked with. And this was a part that I had developed, like it was written with me in mind. We devised it. And I said, it's not off Broadway, it's not on Broadway, it's off Broadway in the East Village, but it's with a director that I really think is amazing. And he thought for a minute, he said, I don't think you should do that play. And now I got serious. I said, what? What are you talking about? I said, isn't that the point? For me to work? And he said, no. The point is for you to get good. And if you go from my class, where we're working on process, where you're allowed to make mistakes, where you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's how you're going to learn, to a rehearsal or a performance where it's all about results, you're going to mess up the delicate scaffolding of this work I'm trying to put into you. So I don't think you should do that play. I said, oh man, I don't know. I said, I'll be honest, Bill, I'm starting to get upset here. He said, yeah, I understand. I don't know if I can do this. He said, I hear you. It might not be for you, but this is what I want to stand for. You came here to get better. I want to help you get better. I think doing this play might hurt your getting better. I went, wow, I got to think about this. And I left, I got to tell you, I was so pissed off. I was there like, F this school, F Bill Esper, I don't need this. This is Ann Bogart, she's amazing. This is my part, I don't need this. I had nightmares that night. I was ready not to enroll. And I woke up the next day feeling extremely weirdly clear. And I went, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go study with this man and I'm gonna quit that play. And it was the best decision I made, and it was the hardest decision. And it was especially hard to go see that play with someone else in my part. But I was investing in my talent. So, you could probably hear some voices there. These are people working on their process. They're having arguments in scenes. So here, we think the best North Star is I want to be the best actor I can be. And if you want to be the best actor you can be, auditioning doesn't have a lot to do with it, even though that's super important too, because you got to be good at auditioning. But while you're working on the craft, I don't think you should be mixing those things. And that is an investment in your talent. By the way, the business is not going to like that. If you got an agent or a manager and you say, I'm going to go do a 2-year program, they're going to go, what? And all they're going to see is dollar signs and short-term gain. And if you're not in class, then you're not making me my 10%. And they're going to try and talk you out of it, some of them, because 10% of nothing is nothing. But they don't have the long view, because if you do that 2-year class and it's a good class, 2 years later, you're going to be at another level. And that would be good for them too, because then they're going to get 10% of a whole lot more, because instead of getting a co-star or a guest star, you're going to get series regular. You're going to be a lead, and you're going to be able to carry that. There was a wonderful actor who studied with me at NYU and got picked up by a wonderful agent, a special agent, Rhonda Price from Gersh. And she doesn't sign too many people. She's very, very choosy. But she signed this wonderful young actor, and then he wasn't booking. And she knew he was talented. And after some months of it not quite coming together, she said, I think you need more time in the dojo. Go study with Terry. I'll wait for you. I mean, I'm getting chills because that's an extraordinary agent. That's a special agent. That's someone who cares about the craft and cares about a long-term relationship with that artist. And he came, and we did 2 years together again, because I'd only touched a little bit of the work at NYU with him. We got much deeper. And he was more ready for it. And then he just started booking like crazy. So Rhonda's hunch was right. It paid off. He was at a totally different level. He always had talent. I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about craft, skill. That was the right decision. Sam Rockwell came to study with Bill Esper just for a summer. He wasn't going to do any more. And then all of a sudden he had the summer intensive. I was like, wait, I need more of this. And told his agent, unless it's like Scorsese asking for me by name, I'm not available. And, you know, you can see he's had a pretty good career. So, my friends, I'm all for the business. I want you to work. I want you to have great careers, but I want you to have something to show. And to me, the goal of acting is not to be a working actor. The goal of acting is to be a wonderful actor, a skilled actor, the best actor you can be. And if you're the best actor you can be, you're going to work. You will be successful. Because Netflix, HBO, all these people, these, you know, streamers, they need to make money. And they make money when they have good talent who know what they're doing. So I think that's why we do what we do here. So we're very serious. Some schools, I gotta say, I'm gonna be honest and a little cranky. If you have a pulse, meaning your heart is beating, and a MasterCard, you're in. Because they just want warm bodies. It's like a gym membership. Gym memberships, they don't care whether you get fit or don't get fit. Everyone joins in January and half those people are gone by March with their New Year's resolutions. But there'll always be more people to take their place. You don't have to have an interview with a gym to see if you're a good fit. But we interview everybody who comes here because we want to make sure it's right for you and that we have what you're looking for and that you're a good fit for us. And that you're ready to work hard and not just take class off. Like, we're serious about attendance. And if you miss class for an audition, that's not okay. Or extra work, that's not okay. Bill Esper used to say there are only 2 reasons to miss class. 1, death, as in your own death. And he'd say, even then, you need a note from your undertaker. And 2, a significant paid professional acting job. Not extra work, not an under 5, not a little co-star, definitely not a commercial, not modeling work, not bartending work, but like a significant part. Like, I don't know, they're doing a movie, let's say your name is Sally. They're doing a movie called Denzel and Sally. And it's you and Denzel Washington. And only because you were walking down the street and Denzel said, I gotta have you in my movie. Well, maybe that's a job you have to take, but you'll be paying a price for that because the time you're spending away from class is not helping you for the next job. So there's sacrifice. There is a sacrifice. There's a price of admission to getting good. You want to get really good at something, you're going to have to not do a bunch of other stuff. It's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you energy. And you got to not look for the results right away because it takes time. But if you do that, that cake is in the oven and it's going to be great. Piper Perabo, wonderful actor, really, really special actress. Had a career, starred in some movies, but again, felt like her work was at a plateau. She certainly knew how to work on camera. She had great representation, but she wanted to take her work to another level. And she knew Sam at the time, and Sam said, well, you got to do the Meisner work. And she went and worked with another one of my mentors, Maggie Flanagan, who for the most part is retired from teaching, but she is and was an extraordinary teacher. And Piper, again, put the career on hold to go work with Maggie for 2 years and just came out at this other level. That's caring about the craft. That's really caring about the craft. Obsessed about the craft, as opposed to booking. Are you following me, friends? The goal is not booking. The goal is excellence. And if you're excellent, you will book. There's a guy who came here, who I met in Atlanta, Christopher. He heard about me through, he did a scene with Sam Rockwell in a movie called Best of Enemies. True story about a guy who was in the KKK. And he's a good actor, Christopher, and a sweet guy, and a funny guy. and the kind of guy you want to have around. Like if I was a manager or an agent, I'd go, God, I like this guy. He's got a good attitude. He's talented. You know, very personable guy. And he did my summer intensive online during COVID, and then found a way to move up here because he wasn't living in New York at great sacrifice. And I just found out and did the 2 years and really got good, really got good. He already had talent and he already knew a lot about the craft, but I think he exited knowing a lot more. And I recently heard that his manager dropped him when he decided to come here instead of waiting, which they should have done. That was their loss. But now it seems like he's got a better manager and a manager here instead of in Atlanta, which, by the way, you can also have one in Atlanta. That's good to have if you can get down there. But he made that investment. Another fellow, Yosef. Yosef is a former professional tennis player, really wild guy, tends to specialize in playing Eastern European gangsters. That kind of has been his niche, and has been working for a long time, 10 years in the business. Co-star, guest star, co-star, guest star. Little arc, 2 or 3 episode recurring, but not a series regular, not a lead, not yet. So he had a plateau. And he heard about me through another one of my former students who works a lot, Boyd Holbrook. They were doing Justified. Boyd was the lead in that, or one of the 2 leads, with Timothy Oliphant. And Yosef said, this guy Boyd is great. What is he doing? And Boyd told him about me. He came here, did the summer, and made a big decision, told his reps, slow down, no more co-star, guest star, Eastern European gangsters. I want to study. Did 2 years. Different actor now. It's an investment, friends. This shit works. If you build it, they will come. It'd be like if you went to dental school to be a dentist, of course you need to know how to market, but the main thing is not like, what signage should I have and how many Instagram ads should I have? It's like, how do I get to be a really good dentist? Because if you're a really good dentist, people are going to keep coming to you. I love to tell people about my dentist, Dr. Michael Sinkin, 30 East 40th Street, New York. He is amazing. He's great. He's not asking me to do that. I just think he's great, and I'll always go to him, and I'm happy to tell people about him because the work he does is great. That's going to be your reputation. Your reputation is the work you do, not your marketing. And one more time, you got to be good at auditioning, but don't mix them.